This is part 2 on how to creating an HTML slider with Angular. On part 1, I discussed about how to create the same thing with Vanilla JavaScript. You can find the link below. So for this, first you'll need to install Node.js, and after you install Node.js, you'll have to install the Angular CLI. Now I'll move on to my IDE and I'll open the terminal. I'm in the main project. I have already created a project called Angular, but I'll be creating again to show you how to do it. So I'll be typing ng new and Angular. So I'll say no to routing and have a CSS. So since I already installed it, it's giving me error, but I showed you how to do it. So once you installed it, so this is the folder structure that you get. So within the src, I'm getting my app component. This is empty, and within the app component HTML, I'm calling something called app carousel. So this is a component that I custom generated. To create this component, I'll have to go into my Angular folder, and I have to type ng generate component and the folder name and give it the component name. So it's giving me an error because I've already created it. This style sheet you see here is the same thing as the one in the previous tutorial. So you can copy and paste it here, it's the same thing. I'll be explaining you how to create this. And in the meanwhile, if we go to index.html, I have imported the font from Google Fonts. And in this styles.css, I've given my basic styles for the body. This is the same thing that I've done here. I created a carousel component once again to show you how to do it, and SCSS is already filled. Rather than calling an HTML template from here, I might as well write the template here itself using backticks. For example, if I write h2 here, hello, and if I run the application, s means ng served, so it will compile, and I go to local host 4204, so you can see the word hello. So how this works is, in the main app component, I'm calling this component, which is this one, and then that has hello. So that's how you see it here. Now this means we don't need this file, so we can delete it. And also we don't need this unit test. Now to create the slider, we'll need the array that we created previously, which is this. So I copy it like that and come here, paste it here. But here I don't need cons. I'm putting it directly like this in Angular. I will also be needing these two things. So remove this, and to make it a constant, I can write as const here, and the timer, directly timer, and then without setting the timer here, I'll be initializing it with null, and within my constructor, I'll be adding the timer, and in the timer, I'll be calling a function called autoplay, which we implemented here as well. So the same thing, only the difference is I'm calling it through an arrow function. I'll be explaining why later. So let's make this function for now. So in Angular, you don't need to type function here like that. The reason to calling it like this is, let's say I'm going to console.log this constant, for example. In Angular, you always have to type this if you're going to access something outside. And I save it. I go back into my web page. So here it says 5000, but let's say I don't use the arrow function here. I call it the normal way, just like here. It will not work. You can see it's undefined. I will undo this. And I don't need this ng on init, which is a lifecycle method in Angular. I can remove that. Remove the import as well. And then I can add the logic of autoplay. Copy it like that. Paste it, and to access pages, I need to add this. Same here. And I need to define this method. Change page, so I can write it down here. Also, this method takes in an argument, which is the page number. Now I'll copy the change page logic. Come here, copy it like that. Put it here. Now let's change this. Add this here. Add. Oh, I don't need something called generate slider right now. The difference between the Vanilla JS way and this is, in Angular, whenever this state changes, the HTML will automatically render. So I don't need that generate method. And I'll have to refactor this. And I'll also have to remove this without directly referencing to our ID, because Angular has its own specific way of accessing elements. So I'll comment it for now. And this clear timeout, I can do it the same way, this.timer. And again, this.timer. And I'll reset the timer in the same way I set it in the constructor. Yes. So this is the part we have to do now. So from my previous application, if I go to the index in the Vanilla JS version, I can copy the carousel HTML and have it here in my template. I'll go into the next line for it to become more clear. And here I don't need IDs anymore, so I can remove these IDs. Now instead of these IDs, in Angular there is something called refs. So I can have a ref for that, which I'll be referencing from inside my logic. I'll call this page ref. To reference this ref, I'll have to do like this. Import viewChild and element ref. So I'm giving the same thing here. So let's call this pages. To see what pages ref is, I can copy this and console log it here in my constructor. And you can see it's undefined. The reason for this is when the component is initiated, the constructor runs first. The constructor runs even before the UI is rendered, which is the template. So in order to see what is in the pages ref, I'll have to implement a lifecycle method after view init. So I can write that function here, after view init. So the difference between the way you implement and write the method is you have to put ng in front, and then I can paste this here, save it, and then you can see what is inside it. Now we have to add the slides. So I'll hard code this for now and give one page. So there's only one slide. Now we have to get whatever data is here into here. So for this, to loop through all the array elements, I'll have to type ng for let page of pages. So this is the same thing as for looping in the pure.js version, but we do it in the HTML itself, which makes it much easier. And in Angular, to access these elements, I can put the two curly braces like that and page dot heading, and same thing here, page dot subheading. And I need to access these images dynamically, so I can do page dot number. So by the way, I have also saved these images here, so it knows how to access it. So assets, images, slider, and the page number, which is this, and then .jpg. And for alternative tag, I can put page dot heading again. This is one way of doing, adding square brackets, or what I can do is this is the same thing. But I prefer the previous way. So now what we have to do is we have to iterate through all the pages as well. So I can copy this again here. Now let's see. So now we have 3 pages, but if we click, nothing's going to happen. So now what we have to do is on the click method, you can, in Angular, you can just type like click and then change page and then send the page number, which is coming from here. So the slider works. The problem is we don't get the highlights, so we have to add the class so that if it's in the first page, the first button gets highlighted. So to do that, I can use something called ngClass. So what this means is if the page.active is true, which is this, then set the active class. So now what we can see it's active here, and when it goes to the second slide, it gets active. So there's a small problem here. I have to remove this because I cannot hard code this class like that. I'll have to access page.classes and join it because it's a string. I'm sorry, it's an array, but in this I'll have to have a string. So I'll join it with a space. So this is similar to what I've done previously. And now let's see what's going to happen. Yes, this comes to the left, this comes to the right, so it looks like everything is working. Now I can remove these unwanted things from here. Also, I can write this as an arrow function. And still it works. So to compare the size of the previous version of the Vanilla JS and this, we can't just check like that in the development version. We have to build it to production, because right now if you check, it's almost 3.4 MB. So to build it, I'll stop the current development server and then I'll type ng build --prod. This will do some of the optimizations and it will take a while. After the project is built, I can go here and then I can open this in a folder. And then to run this, I'll open it through my terminal. And then I have something called live server. You also can install it. Can directly run things like that. And now we can compare this size. Network, do a hard reload. So for the JS, I have 302 KB. This is not accurate. It's better to check it in incognito, because there are some interferences with my these extensions. So I try it here again. Take it as 304 KB. And CSS, if you see, only the main CSS is here, because the styles in the carousel is already in the component itself. One thing that I forgot to mention is that Angular has something called style encapsulation. So what this does is, so even if you type all like a h2 here, h2 and give it a color of green, this will not affect other components, the h2 element. So that's one good thing I forgot to mention. So Angular has this built in. We can change the behavior if we want, but that's how it is. So if you like this video, leave a like and I'll see you guys soon.